Hi there, good evening and welcome to your second Sunday show on the Four Lads Had a Dream Network, discussing all things Rangers for the next 45 minutes or so. And to join me, Scott Patterson, to do it all for the next wee while is Sheryl Ritchie. Sheryl, good to see you again. How are you?
Well, listen, it only took about, 10, 11 months in nagging to be able to get you back, to be able to get us back together. Obviously, our Dougs is away on holiday, so we had to find somebody better looking and that doesn't talk as much. So we've got our David.
And we've managed.
Yes.
David Herd joins us for a Sunday show debut. Hi, David. How are you?
I'm absolutely fine, thanks. I was going to watch the darts tonight, but this was a far better offer, so here I am.
So this is the first time we've podded, so I'm really looking forward to actually getting this on tonight, so it should be a good one. Lots to discuss tonight. Of course, yesterday pre-season ended after the 2-each draw at Ibrox against Middlesbrough. We'll do a bit about that, some post-match commentary that I think came from the manager that caused everyone to sort of raise their eyebrows a little bit. We'll also speak a little bit about Panathinaikos. Next biggest game of the season comes on Wednesday next week, of course. So we'll chat a little bit about that. We will do some of the transfer rumours. Of course, we've got one that has happened very late on this afternoon. A chap from Go Ahead Eagles in Holland will speak a little bit about that. And what I definitely want to speak about is just what are the plans for Bailey Rice this season. Of course, we've seen him sort of involved yesterday as that sort of left-sided centre-half, which I think we've seen him do very, very briefly during pre-season at the camp. It's the St George's Centre in England. I'm interested to know if that's a plan for him long-term. Not sure it is. Maybe just something to fill a hole, so to speak. However, we shall see and we shall speak about it. Guys, you were both at the game yesterday. And Sheryl, I'll start with you. The starting lineup for the first half, it was almost like a B team or a reserve side, wasn't it?
Yeah, and hopefully one that we will never in all of our lifetimes see together again. Because I think quite a lot of people were getting their knickers in a knot about it. But really, when you look at it, it was just kind of throwing as many, as you say, Scotty, as many kind of B team players together as possible. You had a couple of young players in there. You had Gentles. You had poor Hutton as well, and a completely untested and unfamiliar backline as well. So it was a wee bit watching behind your eye, behind your fingers. I think Middlesbrough were bang up for it as well, which took me by surprise a wee bit. But I know that their pre-season thus far has not been great, so they probably viewed this as a pretty good test. I think they've drawn against Mansfield, and I think they get beat 2-0 as well. So they've had a pretty poor start to their pre-season. But certainly we didn't see any of, and I will quote our manager, the good players, or many of the good players in the first half. So it was a wee bit of a slog, but it certainly improved in the second half.
David, it was interesting because we obviously had guys in there that I think it's fair to say are assets. Cortez was involved, Bayrami was involved, Big Fernandez played at centre half. I think it's harsh to maybe go in two-footed on him, frankly, to be honest, since he's just up the road. Conor Barron was involved as well. It was an opportunity for many of them yesterday, and I think Russell Martin alluded to that post-match that some of these guys have had their chance again, particularly maybe by Rami and Cortez's chance, and they've just not grasped at it, which is bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to say about in my head, when I saw the team yesterday, I thought we were back to the 1970s and it was 4-4-2 with two big guys up front and two wingers. I thought we were actually, it was a throwback team that he was putting on the park. But then once they actually lined up, I thought Bailey Rice was going to play centre half, and he didn't. Young Hutton moved in to play centre half beside Fernandez, which meant Cortez actually played right back, which I thought was an absolutely bizarre thing to sit and watch. So you'd Rice as a kind of number 8. You had Gentles in the right wing instead of being centre forward. It was almost like he was testing out some of these guys to see how flexible they were. And I suppose Fernandez is slightly out of position as well because he's right-sided. He was playing left-sided centre-back inside Jeffrey. So, yeah, it was a team. It looked thrown together at the best of times, but it was even more thrown together when you actually saw the positions some of them were playing in. And as Sheryl alluded to, Middlesbrough brought a big travelling support and treated it like a competitive game, which we actually didn't in the first half. And I just felt that we had no aggression, we had no tempo, we were just safe in the ball all the time, and we just get bullied off the ball constantly. They just wanted it more. They seemed to be more physical, more aggressive, and we were very lucky to be in at half time just 1 down. And that's actually 3 games at Ibrox now and 3 first halves that we've sat at half time and said, well, we're terrible when it actually should be worse. So one of the things I think we definitely want to see going forward is the team starting games better.
David, I'll stick with you because one of the things that Russell Martin did refer to was, and we've heard him say it a lot during pre-season, is the emphasis almost on running. He wants his players to run hard and try hard, have bags of effort, which of course we all do as a sport. It was interesting to see him. He singled out Josh Gentles, young guy, maybe a bit of pat in the back for him, maybe a bit of a G up, if you like. In the case of Cortez, I think it's really important that we get a clear understanding of where we are with this character now over the next sort of 3-4 weeks or so. We need to know if he's going to be useful. We need to know if he's interested, if he's wanting to be here. I think we also need to know that he can actually play as a winger and be effective as a winger. I think a lot of times we've heard about wingers, and I think Dougie, Stevie and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, where we spoke about wingers and how when they come to Ibrox to play, they suddenly become inverted inside forwards. You never see them sort of hitting the byline and drifting the ball in. And we still don't know now whether Cortez is going to be that sort of player or not. So for him to start and see him at right back, a bit bizarre for me. You're not actually seeing him in his picked position for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get on to Russell Martin's press conference afterwards. Sheryl was there. I wasn't at the press conference. I've seen bits of it online, but he actually praised Cortez for his attitude in the first half. And I thought, to be fair, he was playing in a very alien role, and he gave it his best shot. I felt he tracked back as best he could. He tried to play the position. He tried to be a right back, but when he got the ball, he did try and get forward with it. He actually broke forward a couple of times, but he was attacking Middlesbrough with players in front of him instead of hitting the byline, if you know what I mean. So I felt really sorry for him yesterday. But if he keeps making that kind of effort and he tries to get forward from his natural position, then you never know. I'm not going to write him off yet. What I will say is that I originally thought he was a left winger. But I do think there are now obviously 2 left wingers in front of him, and they're going to stay in front of him in the pecking order, in Gassama and young Curtis. Yeah. So if he's ever going to make it as a regular in the first team, he's going to be playing in the right wing, not the left wing. But look what we're doing. We're trying to buy right wingers. So
absolutely.
Well, I'm not sure if, despite the praise that he got at the press conference yesterday, which is more about attitude than end product, I'm not convinced the manager sees him as somebody that he's going to build the right side of the team around.
Sheryl, Vladdy84 is watching tonight on YouTube channel. We thought Cameron done well when he came on. Of course, he came on after Dessers, or for Dessers rather, at half time. Only one switch that was made at half time, which quite surprised me. I imagine, knowing when the other switches were made, it was almost something that was planned, which you'd probably expect. But Cameron done okay when he came on. One of the shining lights of the afternoon, if you like.
Yeah, he was very direct. He really was. And he didn't look out of place when he came on. I think that I had seen a lot of chat beforehand, Scotty, about maybe putting him out on loan. I don't agree with that at all. No. I think what we need is a wee bit of squad depth. And I think his actual knowledge of the league and the teams around us will actually be something that can be hugely advantageous to us. So no, if I've seen somebody else say, I would maybe start him. I know we'll talk about it later. I would prefer him in front of Dill. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think he did very well. Just dead direct, not scared on the ball. There was a lot of criticism of Connor Barron yesterday, just wanting far too much time on the ball. I seen someone in the comments as well saying they had overheard the manager mention it as well. But that midfield in the first half just lost the ball. Connor Barron particularly, I like him. He was very industrious. He was working hard. But the amount of time that he wanted on the ball and the amount of time that he lost the ball as well was pretty awful. But Cameron, when he came on, absolutely went for it, and rightly was man of the match as well.
David, I'm going to ask you to speak about officiating in a second. However, before I do get to that, I do want to say hello to our Sunday show sponsors, iSport, who are looking after us all of this season. Also, an extended thank you to our sponsors for the duration of the season. As always, Rhino Express. We've got Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD, and Black Rooster are all helping us out as the season goes on and allowing us to do lots of very exciting things, which I will cover as the pod continues. David, there's a pre-season sort of ends as all the previous seasons are finished to a certain degree with some frighteningly poor decision making at Ibrox yesterday again.
Yeah, Mr. Beaton. Yeah. Well, Russell Martin got his introduction to it yesterday, didn't he? And he ended up sent to the stand for obviously what he said in response to seeing one of the most ridiculous non-penalty decisions you're ever going to see. I mean, the guy actually punched it away with his arms right above his head. I've got absolutely no idea what the referee was looking at if he couldn't see that. And I think, to be fair, we had a hat-trick of officials making a complete rickets of it yesterday because, and I will be fair here, Middlesbrough scored a perfectly good goal in the first half, which the linesman at the governed stand side disallowed for offside, and it was miles on. It was just right in front of me. It happens to sit there. Miles on. And then the Middlesbrough second goal was actually offside twice. It was offside for the free kick, and then it was offside when the guy knocked it in more or less on the line.
Yeah.
How the linesman didn't see that, the main stand side linesman didn't see that, I don't know either. So I don't know whether these guys are starting to rely on VAR to make decisions, and they just swan their way through games, giving free kicks and just expecting the guy on the television to do the important stuff. But those three decisions were ridiculous, absolutely scandalous. And I don't know if you saw the penalty Celtic got in their pre-season friendly against Newcastle or not, but I saw that online, and their player kicked the turf and fell over, and Nick Walsh gave a penalty for it. So the new season is starting the way the old one ended.
The jigsaw's going together already, isn't it? Goodness me.
Yeah.
Sheryl, so and you were in around the press conference post-match, and before we get into some of the bits and pieces that Russell Martin did say, he referenced that incident. I think I think he was not so kind to John Beaton, but has since apologised for it. What did he say about it post-match?
He said that obviously he was frustrated. What he did mention, which I thought was pretty good, was a lot of it was actually around the performance as well. Okay. So as much as he was frustrated with that decision, some of that frustration and the way that he responded to that was also around the way that we were performing up until that point as well. He said that he was sent to the stand, but he did go and find Beaton and apologise. And what I thought was quite interesting was he said Beaton then apologised to him about the decision as well. And he did make, which I thought was an excellent point, that he had to get his head round the differences and how the officiating was up here as well, which I believe he's been warned about. But he'll certainly know all about it now.
Do you know, it would be interesting to know, and I don't know if this is, I'm trying to work out my maths in my head. I wonder if John Beaton refereed up here when Russell Martin played or was involved in any way, shape or form, or even if Russell Martin's got not a history with him necessarily, but he's been exposed to that sort of standard in air commas of refereeing. It would be interesting to know, and there might be someone in the comments who indeed does know. Don't forget, if you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or indeed if you're following us on the Twitter feed, you can get involved in the comments and let us know where you are and what you want us to speak about tonight. One thing that I do want to come back to you on, Sheryl, is that Russell Martin referred to the good players that came on midway through the second half. So just to be clear, the guys that he was referring to that joined us an hour on the match yesterday was Giga, Raskin, Aarons, Dowell, Curtis, James Tavernier and Danilo. Of course, two of them sort of saved the day for us, if you like, with Danilo and Curtis both scoring. I imagine you're talking about all these guys being starters for us moving forward, certainly over the next 2-3 weeks, Sheryl. Agree?
Yeah, I would think so. And as you referenced, Scotty, at the beginning, there was a few players that started yesterday, like Connor Barron, Gassam, as he's referred to by Tom Miller, but Gassama to the rest of us. that there was a few potential starters in there, and you've seen the best of these guys when the next draft of players came on. Connor Barron just looked like his load had been completely lightened. So these players, absolutely, they're going to be our starters, and you've seen yesterday the difference that they made. It was just maybe slightly disappointing. I don't know how realistic it is, but maybe slightly disappointing that a few of the fringe ones, or the B team players, or the players that we're all a wee bit dubious about, didn't maybe take more of a chance yesterday. But did it teach us anything we don't know? I don't think so.
Yeah, and I mean, David, we're obviously looking at, I think you're seeing the emergency players like Finley Curtis as being a Rangers squad player. We've known loads about him, I would say, for the last 12 to 18 months because he scored the bar load of goals in the academy football. And I think now we're beginning to see the sort of fruits of his hard work and how he can maybe be involved moving forward. But guys like Kieran Dowell, and listen, I know he very much splits the support. I don't think there's any doubt that Russell Martin sees a player in there. He trusts him. I think he's been involved in him before. So I think he looks at Kieran Dowell and thinks he can offer something this season, arguably more than your guys like Bayrami and Barron, Cortez even perhaps. And I know they're all different sort of players. And again, in Kieran Dowell's case, it's not a million miles away different from Cortez, that I don't think anyone really knows what his best position is. Seeing him as he's not someone for me that is going to be overly effective playing wide on the right of a three up top. Is he a centre midfielder? And he's not going to play there. He's never going to get in there ahead of Raskin or Diomande, Joe Rothwell. He's not going to get a look in there. So it's very interesting to know how all of these guys who are certainly on decent money, how they're going to be involved and how they're going to fit in as part of this Russell Martin Rangers jigsaw.
If I start with Kieran Dowell, I think, well, I don't think the support's particularly split about Kieran Dowell. I think 99% of the support don't want him in the team. I actually don't think the support's split. I think the split exists between the manager and the supporter, and it's now actually, the truth be told. It's a great example of a player getting thrown into a position because there's absolutely nobody else there that Martin can think of to play there just now.
Yeah.
Dowell is a safe option in the right to basically try and keep the ball and go up and down the park and help his fullback out while he's trying to find a winger that actually fits the system he wants to play. Yeah. And once he gets a couple of those wingers that fit his system, Dowell will not be playing on the right-hand side of the park. And then you ask yourself, well, where will he play? It looks to me as if Russell Martin likes to play with two number 8s, as I think the modern technology as sort of box-to-box midfielders. And if you look at the competition he's got for that place, Diomande and Raskin and Cameron and all these guys, I just don't see him playing there very often either. So the question then becomes, are the club happy to keep paying a wage for him to be a backup, 4th, 5th choice in a position? Is the player happy to do that on the wages he's on, or are they going to try and move him on once they bring some more players in? And I'll be quite surprised if he's still here in January. I'm not sure we'll move him on this window. I think ideally we would, but
yeah,
I don't see him finishing the season at Ibrox. And I think Bajrami kind of falls into almost the same category.
Absolutely,
as what I've just said. Somebody that might be a safe option, somebody that can keep the ball but isn't going to particularly win games for you. But once guys come in the door that the manager actually wants, you'll see them drifting out, moving into the sidelines, and hopefully moving on.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to a lot of these guys that are on decent cash through no fault of their own, but perhaps just not playing football. They might just be happy to take the cash. In all honesty, so it'll be interesting to see what that happens, or what happens with them rather. Before we go on to transfer talk again, David, I'll stick with you because I'm really curious to know if you think that transfer deadline day obviously slams shut. Doing my best Jim White moment at the end of August. I wonder if you think how in and about it Finley Curtis will be at that point. So on the 1st of September, which will be roundabout, if not bang on Old Firm Day. I don't have the fixture list in front of me. It'll be on around that area. But I do wonder how close or not Finley Curtis is going to be to a Rangers starting 11, a bench guy, because he's impressed pre-season, hasn't he?
I think, as it stands right now, I don't see any way Finley Curtis is going anywhere other than staying at Ibrox this transfer window. What's in it for us to move him on? He's somebody that looks as if he can contribute in wide right, wide left. He scored different kinds of goals already in pre-season, hasn't he? He scored in all 3 pre-season games, 3 very different types of goal.
Absolutely.
That was a kind of poacher's goal he actually got yesterday. Plus the fact he's homegrown. He does the sort of European squad rules round about the number of Scots that have got to be in it and stuff. I can't see any way he's going to move on. And if you look at the number of fixtures Rangers play, and hopefully we'll be playing European group football and we'll be going deep into the cup competitions and stuff like that. If that's the case, there's no reason why that boy won't play 20, 25 games this season.
And do you think that would be the case even if we bring in new wingers between now and the end of the month?
Absolutely. Why would it not? My view is that Martin will bring in at least one right winger. Yeah. He might actually bring in 2 wingers before the. But I think Curtis could probably play anywhere across the front 3. And he might even be able to play in it as a kind of number 10 as well. It looks like he's that kind of versatile forward, but not just a versatile forward, one that's got a goal threat about him. And if you look at this, the number of players that score regularly for Rangers over the last few seasons, take Sheryl, Dessers and Czerny out last season. Did anybody score more than 7 or 8? I don't know if they did. So no, it makes absolutely no sense for me to move. I think there's others that we might talk about later on who I think a loan move would be better for than the way things stand right now. But Curtis has played himself right into the manager's plans for this season, I think. And I think he will feature in quite a number of games this season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Heather has suggested in the chat he's an old head and young shoulders, which was where I was going to go next. I felt Sheryl, after he was interviewed post Panathinaikos midweek, alongside Jack Butland, I felt he spoke really well for an 18-year-old. I thought he spoke really well to the sort of Premier Sports television, and I think his post-match stuff was quite endearing as well, when he's talking about still staying at home and his mum's sort of making sure he's getting a decent night's rest and all that. It was nice to see, and I think it showed you that the kid was quite grounded despite everything that had happened sort of 30 minutes or so before. He was really quite grounded, he was settled. I think we're going to see lots from him this year. And I really do hope that even if we bring in 2 wingers, as David says, and I think he's right for what it's worth, but I do hope bringing in maybe some additional wingers doesn't park him further down the list, because I think he's in and around it on merit as things stand just now.
Yeah, well, do you know the call to start him on Tuesday was massive, wasn't it? But 100%. The way that he responded, that goal, so 2 pre-season goals and then a Champions League qualifier goal, and he took it excellently as well. Do you know, he didn't look overawed by the occasion, and he kind of grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and just went for it and took that goal, which was the one that sort of got us moving as well. So no, I don't think I'm wrong. I think that we'll see a lot from him. I think that Russell Martin clearly likes him, and he's repaying the faith that he's shown in him so far as well. I know you guys don't agree with me. I would start him on Wednesday. I think he's in an excellent vein of form. I think he's clearly very, very confident as well. So I would definitely start him, but I know we'll come on to that later as well. Scotty, do you mind if I take us back to the press conference?
Of course you can.
From yesterday, because it was something, I don't know if you guys picked up on it. I'm just going to double check that I've got his wording right, but something that Russell Martin had come out and said that he didn't like the body language and the energy of too many of them in the first 20 to 25 minutes, but also the body language during the warm-up as well. He'd kind of alluded that there was a bit of kind of huffy air of 1 or 2 of the players, and I just wondered your guys' thoughts on who that could possibly be.
So obviously I wasn't at the game yesterday, obviously, but every time I'm at Ibrox, I like to get in and sort of view the warm-up, see who's in and involved, watch them do the rondos, the subs, get on with it. And I think it's quite interesting to hear Russell Martin say that from the off, before a competitive ball has been kicked in a friendly, albeit the last friendly season, he's picking out the guys that just aren't cutting it. And it harps back to maybe his narrative since he came in the door, which was he expects commitment, work ethic, run. And I think it's quite clear if you're not prepared to do things his way, you're not prepared to put in 100% and give the effort that he's demanding, then you just won't be involved. I think it's as simple as that. And I don't think we can be critical of that. I sometimes wonder if just how strong not the players' mentality is, but that power that the players have in and around the place. I think previously, I loathe to say they got away with doing what they wanted, but I get the impression there's a marked change in that, and I think a lot of that will come from maybe a respect that the players will have with the manager, and I think he'll be very quick to pick out the guys that are disrespecting him by not working hard. Is that fair, David? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think I can tell you who one of them was, because I got in quite early yesterday for various reasons. I was there about 40 minutes before the game started yesterday, and there was definitely one player who I thought looked absolutely in a huff during the warm up. He looked completely half-arsed, and it was Jeffy.
Wow,
Jeffy looked completely disinterested in the warm up. Now, to be fair, he wasn't the worst player in the park once the game started. There was others that were worse than him, but I don't know what's the name of the guy that does the warm up with him. Not Russell Martin's assistant. He was over talking to Jeffy for a bit of it. I'm quite sure he was telling him.
Matt Gill.
I think yeah. I'm pretty sure he was without. I can't let read for that distance, but I think he was probably telling him that he was looking for a bit more effort.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, he's the only left back we've actually got at the moment. Actual left back, and yet he didn't play in the Champions League qualifier the other night. And he's in with let's be honest, he's in with the stiffs that started that started yesterday afternoon. So the fact that he's not playing, and the guy that we've brought in on loan for the Premiership at probably a big loan fee, who we see as the successor to Tavernier and as the right back this season, has been shunted across to the other side to play in the left.
Yeah, which
is absolutely not what Russell Martin wants to do. And I think it's obvious, because he doesn't want Real Maz in the building, and B, I don't think he thinks you have his attitude's right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually think that it'll be very interesting. I'm going to just in 2 minutes, I'm going to drift out onto the your thoughts for Wednesday night, Panathinaikos. But I think the decision to move Aaron's across to left back it's a real slap in the face. It's a slap in the face to Robbie Fraser, because I think it maybe shows that he's just not quite at a level to be involved just now. But for guys like Ridvan and Jeffy, they're specialist positions. New guy comes in, you're only playing, but the guy that I've signed on loan for a season to play on the opposite flank is getting your job. It's really, really it's a boot in the face for these boys, but they're obviously it's a new regime. It's an absolutely new regime, and if Russell Martin's going to rock up and shake it up to the extent that he clearly is just now, I don't think you can hugely question him. I think Ridvan's been desperate to go back to Turkey the minute his feet sort of landed in Glasgow, frankly, and I've said it for a long time now. I think those stories about him being homesick and desperate to go back never really left from the minute he was signing, to be perfectly frank. So I'm not at all surprised that a move back there seems to be for the off. I don't think that's too far away. I think he'll go. But it will be interesting to see what we do with that left back position. Obviously, Owen Beck was linked quite strongly last week. He's decided he wants to sign on at Liverpool again to go to Derby for a season, which is fair enough. But I certainly think that we need cover in and around that left back area.
He did say, sorry, Scotty, one of the things that he did say yesterday, the kind of towards the end of the press conference, was there is work continuing to be done on getting players out, but also bringing players in as well. So I would hope that left back was one of them, definitely.
It has to be. I think it really has to be, because I don't think that. I almost wonder what Bournemouth are thinking, sending up one of their players and seeing that he's not playing in his position. I often wonder what the sort of parent club look up and see. And I know we've only played one competitive game, but you know, on Tuesday night, I felt that Aaron's looked quite uncomfortable in that role. Certainly in the first half, I thought he looked a bit more relaxed second, but in the first half, he looked like he really, really struggled there, almost like he hadn't played in that role before. And while I'm not sure that's entirely true, and it may just be the nerves of Ibrox getting to you for that sort of moment. It was very loud at Ibrox last week, and I did wonder if maybe the sort of heat of the occasion got to him. Before we speak about Wednesday night, I do want to encourage you all to like and subscribe to what we're doing here. We are just shy of 9,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We'd be very grateful to make it up to 9,000 as soon as we sensibly can. So if you are not subscribed yet, get your finger out and make sure you're doing it, and like and comment and get yourself involved. There's lots of content to come over the next wee while. Lots of stuff to enjoy. No two ways about it. Sheryl, I'll stick with you. Biggest game of the season. The next biggest game of the season comes Wednesday night. Panathinaikos in Greece. Should be hot, really quite pleasant. Where's your head at on it?
It's difficult when you think back to this time last year, don't you? Because that was just horrendous. And I think last season would have gone the way that it went anyway, but that was just such a catalyst. Obviously, we were at Hampden, that wasn't ideal, but financially, the ramifications of that game were massive, absolutely massive, and it's certainly somewhere that we don't want to be again. I don't think we will be. I think we've got enough to get us through there. I think it'll be very, very difficult. But I'm actually quite confident that we'll go there and maybe just sneak a wee 1-0 or a 1-1. It certainly won't be easy, but I'm more confident now than I was this time last year, definitely.
And David, before we get into formations and maybe personnel that are going to be involved on Wednesday, I know you were in the gantry midweek last week, so I had the opportunity to see it all from a different level and check it all out post-match, etc., and really sort of absorb that whole thing in. First competitive match for Russell Martin, 2-0 victory over Panathinaikos at Ibrox in the Champions League was a really, really good start. The importance of finishing the job off now next week is absolutely colossal for so many different reasons, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, before the game, there was all this talk of it's not season defining. Of course, it's not season defining, but it's kind of European season defining, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So get through this game, and let's be honest, the next round, the team we'd be playing is no better than Panathinaikos again. Yeah. So it gives you a real chance to get into the playoffs for the Champions League. And despite, I know there's a lot of fans say that we're probably better off in the Europa League, we can go further in it. It's Rangers. We should be aiming as high as we can go. Yeah. I'm always of the opinion that we should be the highest level of European football that we can get to. Yeah. Now there's nothing wrong with the Europa League. That's where you end up in, but that's not where you should end up. You should be aiming as high as you can. If you can get there, then it attracts a completely different level of player again. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So, and as far as the game last week's concerned, I think I said it, I alluded to it earlier on. First half was very nervy, we were caught in possession a lot. We defended really badly. We gave the ball away in some terrible positions. And I think before Russell Martin took over, we were all warned that might happen with a Russell Martin team, that we take a lot of chances in areas of the pitch we shouldn't. We saw it again yesterday, actually. But once we get in at half-time, we rode our luck again at the start of the second half. Jack Buckland was man of the match for me last Tuesday. For all that I've sat and said I want a new goalkeeper this summer, we would have been 3-0 down if it wasn't for him. And young Curtis completely changed the game with his goal, and then getting the guy sent off. And from that moment onwards, we played quite well. And just wish we got that third one, because it's going to be a nervy night on Wednesday night. I think we've got a 2-goal lead, and we might need it.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that a third goal in the evening just relaxes you a little bit for sure, because Greece and the passion, the heat, etc. There's loads of perfect stormy type headlines that are there in the background somewhere. David, one thing that we spoke about before we went live tonight was how he may line up, and I reckon on Wednesday he might go with a back three and almost be not ultra defensive, but he just needs to get through. He just has to get through. I wonder if he'll go with a back three, which I think may mean, I may be wrong, but I suspect it may mean Tav playing the right side of a three at the back and Aaron's playing at right wing back. It gives them potentially a problem to do on the other side. Where are you with maybe the defensive setup, maybe initially for Wednesday night?
There's two elements to that question, really, Scott. So if you ask me the question, what team do I expect to see?
Mm-hmm.
I expect to see the same 11 that started last week. I don't think he'll change. I don't think he'll, this early in his reign, I think he'll stick to the formation and the approach that he's had up until now, and still play 4-3-3, still play down on the right, still same three in central midfield, same back four. I think we'll see the same team, with the one potential change at centre forward, because I think he has got options of whether he plays Danilo or Dessers or Egeman if he's available. And I think the fact he didn't play yesterday suggested a wee bit to me that maybe he's getting kept for Wednesday.
Aye.
So what I'm expecting to see is the same team that I watched with the gantry last Tuesday night. What I would do is a completely different question. I think you and I are both channeling our inner Walter Smith, and we're basically saying, let's hold on to what we've got. So if Steven Gerrard or Gio went out there, they would go and try and kill the game and score early and play their usual system.
Yeah,
Walter would have went out there and he would have played 5 defenders, 3 solid midfield players, and I can maybe it's the fact that I saw it that often, and I think the way Barry Ferguson set Rangers up in Turkey last season at Fenerbahce, when he went to a 3 at the back. And he played Czerny in a kind of floating role off Dessers. It worked really well. I can see Gassama playing that Czerny floating role, and I can see Tav moving into the back, and Jeffrey and Aaron's been wing backs. I can see all that, but I don't think that's what he's going to do. I think he's going to play his usual system. So
we think Kieran Dowell's going to start right wing in Greece?
I do. I didn't say I would do it, but you asked me what I expect to see, and what I expect to see is the same thing.
Sheryl, go on then.
Do you know what? I would start Gassama over on the right, and I would have Curtis at the left. That's what I would do, because Dowell offered very, very little last week.
He did.
For me.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do, just for that, till we get that kind of sorted out. Maybe get what was it, Raksaki they were looking at last week?
Yeah, coming on in a second, Jay.
On the right. One of the things, sorry, just to pick up the comments, Egemani left before 2:00 yesterday, and it was brought up in the press conference that both Egeman and Asgard didn't start because they were still injured. Egeman picked up a small injury on Tuesday and was seen leaving the stadium before 2:00. Yesterday.
It'll be interesting to see what goes on with these guys over the next sort of 2-3 weeks, whether they're involved at all, whether they do have the opportunity to move on elsewhere. I suspect in Egeman's case there will be quite a bit of movement over the next week to 10 days, regardless of Wednesday's result, to be perfectly honest with you. So it'll be interesting to see just exactly where that story goes. as I say, I think Rangers will start with 3 at the back on Wednesday, and I think it will be Tav, Suter, and who I have to say, I didn't think John Suter played particularly well last Tuesday night. However, I've since seen a screenshot, one of these tactical numbers guys, who actually proved me wrong. He actually had quite a decent game from a stats and a numbers perspective. He actually had not too bad a game, but I thought you were looking at a guy who was way behind pre-season training compared to the rest of them. I think you could tell that he maybe wasn't up to a level as the rest. 3 at the back on Wednesday for me, and hopefully it's enough to get us through, which we shall see. And as the week progresses, the network will have way more on that than we will tonight. Some transfer rumours that'll take us for another 5 minutes or so, then I can release you all to do as you please. That's not true. I do have one other thing I want to speak to you about. We obviously had the Jesserin Raksai story that came out last week, the loan with an obligation or an option, which hasn't happened. I suspect we will go back in for him if discussions are not ongoing just now. And then today, David, Oliver Antsman, right winger at Go Ahead Eagles in Holland. It's clearly an area that Russell Martin, as you've said earlier on, we need more in, we need more quality in, we need someone to come in to give us some numbers, which I know Sheryl has for us very, very shortly. It's definitely an area that we need. When you look at the profile of Gassama when he came off the bench midweek against Panathinaikos, we need someone of a similar profile to play on the other flank for his plans to work, don't we?
Yes, and if it's not this Ant-Man chap, then there will be a right winger coming in at some point, I'm sure. If Cheryl's got the numbers, I haven't done as much research as she does because I'm not as professional as her. But
Really?
I had a quick look at his Wikipedia page, which I never know if it's accurate or not, to be honest. But what did jump out to me was, well, a couple of things. One is he's over 6 foot tall, which I think is interesting in terms of the athleticism and physicality that I think Russell Martin's trying to create at Ibrox. And the second thing, which I didn't realise, the fact the guy's only 23, he's got 22 caps for Finland and he's scored 7 goals for them, including goals away from home against Denmark and Scotland.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of pedigree there as well at a decent level. So I've got no idea if it's just one of these rumours or not. I know it's in the Herald's Twitter page tonight.
Yeah.
Whether you want to believe anything the Herald says, entirely up to you. But if it's not him, it will be somebody, and I think it will be somebody of his type of profile, somebody young, athletic, with goal threat, and quick. And if it's not him, it'll be somebody else.
Yeah, agreed. Sheryl, speak to us about Ant-Man.
Right. Well, Davey's kind of nicked. Davey's like, oh, I didn't do any stats, and then reeled off when he was born,
right.
what time at, what his favourite kind of crisps were, what age his ma, etc. Well, and compared to Davey, all I can tell you is that he scored 6 goals and had 15 assists, and he's appeared 22 times for Finland.
Yeah. So I think one thing you're getting from that, however, is that he's going to bring numbers, and one thing that we've seen so much recently, and I think we spoke about it very early on in the pod, was that last season the numbers after Dessers from a goal scoring perspective were really, really poor, and we need to have guys buying in from both left and right side, and that is the second choice wingers either side as well, by the way, as opposed to the first choice. It has to be a collective, and all these guys have to be in and around the numbers and be spoken about as important players in the squad, not just guys that'll get 10 minutes back and forward at Dingwall. It's really important that these guys are involved and they're offering something. I think it's easy to have a heavy squad of big earners that just offer hee-haw. Rabbi Matondo, I'm thinking about you in the first instance. And it's true. I mean, he just shouldn't be around anymore. And the fact that he is, I find absolutely baffling. However, it is what it is. I think one of these guys will end up at Rangers, if not both of them end up at Rangers before the end of the month. Maybe not this week, but certainly before the end of the month. I would really like us to get Rak-Saki. I think he'd be a fantastic signing and a game changer, arguably. David, this is a difficult one, but I think it's quite apt. I always remember us speaking about Leon King for a long time, about how do you know what I mean? This guy he was going to drop in as a centre half, and he was going to be the next big thing. And I think people that were in and around the academy and the football club at the time thought the same thing. What are we trying to do with Bailey Rice?
That's a very good question. I maybe wouldn't compare him to Wayne King as much. I maybe compare him to Ross McCrory, if that's
okay. But I'm more in the
from a point of view of what we're doing with him. He's a defensive midfielder that plays in front of the back four.
Yeah,
keeps the ball ticking over, wins possession, gives it to somebody more creative. So that's the kind of player he is, isn't it? A number 6, I think, is the modern expression for it. And when he played the youth system in Motherwell, he was the star of their team over and above that Lennon Miller, who's now the big thing in Scottish football, isn't he? So he obviously at 14, 15, he was seen as one of the prospects in Scottish football. If I'm honest now, though, I'm struggling to see him getting regular starts, and not just regular starts, but getting off the bench. He's even got a lot of competition there. So if I think of the number 6 position, I was really impressed with Joe Rothwell the other night.
He was excellent. He was excellent.
I thought he was terrific. I thought he was the best outfield player we had against Panathinaikos. He looks like one of these footballers that he knows when to slow it down. He knows when to speed it up. He takes clever positions up. He keeps the ball moving. And I just like to look at him completely.
Yeah, agreed.
And then you've got as a potential, if he's not playing number 6, you've got the guy playing number 6 for the Belgian national team. So Bailey Rice is going to be struggling to get in front of them. And then you've Connor Barron playing there yesterday, who's never Scotland international, full international. Yeah. So he's got basically 3 players in front of him in the pecking order for his natural position, which I think tells you that if he does get a game, it might be against Alloa in the League Cup or something like that, because it might not be much else. Then you ask, well, where else can he play? So there's this recent thing in closed season, I think, that he's been tried out as a centre back, which, from my understanding, it was a centre back in a back 4 as opposed to a back 3. Yeah. Although at the start of the second half yesterday, he briefly played as a third centre back. He might be able to play, I think, as a third centre back. He might be able to. I don't know if he can defend though, which is a prerequisite for a central defender. It's all right saying that Russell Martin's system needs a centre back that's comfortable on the ball. Absolutely, that's absolutely fine. But first and foremost, a central defender needs to be able to stop the attackers coming towards them. Correct. And I don't know how good he is at that. And all that leaves is the number 8 positions. And then I'll go back to look at the guys in front of him again. Yeah. So I don't want us to sell him, but I'm struggling to see short term where he fits, because we've brought in so many players that play in the same position as he does. It's crying out for me that he's going out and loan somewhere for this season to try, because I think he's been nearly 19 now. You're probably lucky if he's started half a dozen games.
15, Davey. I've got to start. I don't know, you've not checked his wiki, have you?
No, sorry. but they include substitute appearances, I bet you. They'll include coming on for 2 minutes and things like that.
Yeah, in 3 years.
He started very many games. So no. I think he needs, if he is going to make it at Rangers, he needs to play at a half-decent level on a regular basis. And although he's Scottish and he fits the European thing, I think we need to sacrifice that for a season if we think this boy is going to be the future. And we need to get him a decent loan and see what he can do at a half-decent level.
Yeah, Davey, can you guys remember, I'm absolutely positive that, and I mentioned this on a pod a few weeks ago, I'm sure it was him that both Clement and Barry Ferguson referred to as being behind in his development. I don't know, do you guys remember that? I'm sure it was both of them. Clement said it first, and then I'm sure when Barry Ferguson came in and he was asked about Bailey Rice, he said the same thing. They both viewed him as being slightly behind where they thought he would be, because I think that was 15 appearances in 3 years that he's had with us.
I think, if memory serves me right, I think one of the things that disappointed Barry Ferguson was the fact that Bailey Rice was miles behind where he probably should have been. And I think because Barry Ferguson was trying to give Bailey Rice a bit of personal tuition, to be perfectly honest with you, how to play the role properly. I think he was surprised at knowing the potential that he had, how it hadn't been nurtured and kind of brought to the surface a little bit. I'm with both of you. I think I really like him. I think there's something particularly pleasant about the fact he's a lefty. There's something always nice about seeing a lefty being able to caress and play the ball properly and in that busy role. But I do think we're at a stage where he probably does have to consider maybe a loan move to get game time for a season. I don't think it'll do him any harm, Sheryl.
No, but I think what you want, Scott, is a decent loan move.
Correct. Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? I would almost be looking for a kind of bottom half SPL move for him, somewhere where he's actually going to be properly tested, that he's going to get a lot of game time. I think, I don't know, you guys might disagree with me. I think maybe send them the championship note for me. I think if we're genuinely serious about bringing him on, and there is potential in him, it has to be a really good loan that gives him a lot of good game time, but tests him at quite high a level as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's, I certainly think it's something that it'll become a discussion point, I'm sure, as August progresses. And if we keep, touch wood, we keep all of our midfielders as they are just now, fit and well and competing in each of the different games, David's absolutely spot on. He's going to find it very, very, very difficult to get game time, which is a shame because I like him. But I think a loan move would be better for him and for Rangers long term. So one to watch. Guys, can I ask you both? Sheryl, I'll come to you first. You going to Walters on Friday?
I am, yep. First ever live pod. I am very, very excited. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope to see a lot of people there as well.
Yes. David, will you be joining us in Walters on Friday?
I certainly will. I've brought new hair clippers and everything to cut my hair the night before. I've got to look my best in front of the public. You know, I'm so looking forward to it. It's something I never envisaged that we'd be doing, but I think it's a great idea, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And the daft thing is, I've actually not met some of my fellow podders in this podcast yet.
Correct.
It's actually quite good to meet you guys as well. Never mind any of the rest of it. But we can talk about Rangers all night, so there's no problem with doing that in front of the regulars in Motherwell.
Yeah, no, it should be a really exciting night. I'll be there, looking forward to it as well. There are still tickets left to purchase for the night on Friday. If you're interested, you can contact us at 4lads had the dream, the name 4, the word 4 as opposed to the number 4 at gmail.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube, just shy of 9,000, and we're looking to get to 9,000 as soon as we can. I will let you guys disappear. Sheryl, thanks for joining us. It's great to see you again. I'm really chuffed to do it.
Yeah, lovely to be back. I'm delighted that we're back on together every second Sunday.
Sunday.
When he's back for Sun and himself, he'll be joining us as well. So it's great. Yes, thank you.
Indeed. And David, good to pod with you for the first time ever, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, I can't compete with young Dougie. In saying that, when Dougie's back, then you'll be more than an hour that
Still
night.
Be on. Aye.
Yeah. But no, it was great. It's a great addition to the podcast, bringing this Sunday show back again. And if I'm not going to be on it next time, I'll be watching it instead.
Very kind of you. Thanks very much. I should say, just for the last time, a thank you to our Sunday show sponsor for the season, iSport. We appreciate their help for the duration of the season. And of course, our extended sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, and Black Rooster, all looking after us between now and hopefully a very successful May for Russell Martin. Sheryl, Dougie and I are back in 2 weeks from now, so we look forward to that. It'll be the opportunity to talk about hopefully an exciting and successful start to the brand new season. Guys are on all during the week with the build up to Panathinaikos and Motherwell next weekend. Join them if you can. And thanks for joining us tonight. Bye for now. Good night.
The 4Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.